Hi, Rula here from Change Your Life Now. I'm sitting outside in my little garden and just enjoying the birds and the sunshine. I've just come back from my daily walk, and I wanted to talk today a little bit about triggers. Well, what is a trigger? By definition, it is a switch of some sort. That a gun, for example, has a switch that sets off a bullet. You might have a switch in a bow and arrow, something that sets off the arrow. A switch is an action that takes place that will set off some kind of reaction. So a bullet comes at you and it will hurt you. So if you think of that as a metaphor of life, people say things, they trigger us. That creates a reaction of some sort. It sets up an emotion. Somebody will do something. Something outside of you will trigger you. It could be something that a person says. It could be something on a bigger scale, like family or community or government or global. Something that happens on a global scale can trigger you. And it's all about you and what emotion does it set off from outside of you. And the important thing is that we look at those triggers and we just think, why is this triggering me right now? What is the emotion? It is a reaction. It is something that is acting out something that was from an earlier stage of my life, perhaps. It is reacting an emotion like anger. Anger is a big reaction to triggers. We lash out. And why is that? Because it goes into the amygdala, that part of the brain that is fight or flight. So if someone bullies us as a child, we will be triggered. We will be triggered by that and we will feel diminished. We will feel hurt. And sometimes we will react by anger. And that is why, people fight back because they feel unsafe. They feel that they've been challenged. And in order to protect themselves, they will lash back and be angry. So when you are triggered, really take note of the emotion. What is it? Is it rage? You're triggered by someone that's in the street around you and hooting at you or yelling at you, or you're triggered by all the traffic that's happening around you. You're triggered by your partner and what they're not doing, for example. You're triggered by your family that says something to you and you are triggered by it and it sets off a reaction. The reaction of anger. Where does this anger come from? When was the first time you felt anger and rage that you weren't able to do something about it, and it will continue triggering you throughout your life until you realize, where did it start from? When was the first time I felt rage? Where does it come from? And that is where you need to do the work, because otherwise you will continue to get triggered by anything that happens outside of you. And anger is the biggest emotion. It's a very, very strong emotion. And the sooner you deal with your anger, the easier it will be for you not to be triggered by what is happening around you. A couple of years ago, when so many things changed in this world, we were triggered. We were all triggered. Some of us reacted in defense in one way, and others went into fear and went internal and went inside of themselves. So how do you react when you are triggered? Do you go into fear? Do you go into anger? Do you go into low self-worth? Do you go into, I'm not good enough? That person is bringing out something in me that doesn't make me feel good enough about myself. So I need to work on that, because I can't change that trigger. I can't change the person outside of me or the circumstances outside of me. I cannot stop them. I cannot control them. I can only control myself. I can only control how I am triggered by whatever is happening around me, and how I can observe it. And I can say, well, what is that bringing up in me? Why am I feeling this emotion? Where does it come from? I want to lash out and I want to protect myself. So I will scream and shout and perform or hit or do whatever it is that I need to do. That's the fight or flight response. Or I might go within myself and I will foam, as they say, or freeze. And then what do? I need to suppress with some kind of activity, whether it's smoking, whether it's drinking, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's painkillers, whether it's antidepressants, all those things, because I don't want to feel. So what if I really felt when I get triggered to just say, okay, I'm triggered. Right now I'm triggered. Let me just stop for a minute. Let me breathe into it. Let me feel what is the emotion that it's triggering in me. And maybe I can't deal with it right now because I'm wanting to protect myself and I want to just punch that person, or I want to react by running up and down and screaming and yelling, or I want to take my drug, or I want to do my smoking, or I want to eat my food, my sugar, so that I can just calm down. No, what we have to do is to breathe. We have to breathe, and we have to just count to 10 and then allow ourselves to connect with our bodies and to say, okay, I need to deal with this. I need to understand why I'm being triggered by this person, thing, situation, and what is my reaction. Where did it start from? What has it brought up in me? And when you look at it from the other side, a person who is constantly yelling and screaming and shouting and performing and causing the trigger, why is that person doing that? Why is that person reacting in that way and being a bully? Why is that person constantly telling off other people or constantly picking on other people? Because that person is also feeling less. That person is also feeling troubled. And that is their way of going into their fight or flight response to protect themselves. We put on this armor around us and we become the bully. We become that narcissist. We become that person that hurts others because we are broken and because we need to feel better about ourselves. And the only way we can feel better about ourselves is to diminish others around us. So think about how you behave. Think about how you react to your triggers. And take some time through meditation, through calming your nervous system, through breath work, through just taking a walk in nature and understanding, why am I being triggered by what somebody says or does? Or why am I being triggered by my community, my environment, my government, the global occurrences that are happening? It's so important that we work on ourselves in order to heal, in order to become better people, in order to be kind and compassionate. So I'll leave you with that thought today, and please put some comments below just to tell me how you feel about my comments today about triggers. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.